Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for World Cup Fantasy content. Today we're going to do another tier list looking at some differential players and other players I wanted to talk about before the tournament kicks off. We've got some really interesting player picks today that I want to share with you guys. Apologies guys, I'm not at home at the moment. I'm on a little mini break before the World Cup, but still need to grind out some content. So if you do enjoy this one, please do like the video. Please do subscribe as well, and ignore it if the sound quality or the background is not as good as it usually is. Let's get cracking with this tier list. Okay guys, so thank you for your suggestions of kind of players you'd like to see in this tier list. We're going to start off with some Argentina players that a lot of you guys have been speaking about. We're going to go through must-haves, great options, optionals, mehs, and avoids. And we're going to start off with, like I said, the Argentina boys. Now, first of all, Damian Martinez, also known as Emi Martinez. I'm going to put him in optional straight away. Now, a lot of people are confused and don't know that Martinez is actually in the game. They've called him Damian Martinez in this fantasy game for some reason, and that is another name that Emi Martinez does go by. So if you are looking for him, he is in there. 5.5 million goalkeeper. He's kind of an option. Like, not amazing, but like okay. Di Maria, on the other hand, I think is a great option. I really feel like he is really a player to go for. He's in some good form at the moment. I would arguably even like move him towards the must-have category. Honestly, he just looks like a really big pick, a solid pick who's going to pick up a lot of points. It's hard to fill in those kind of those positions in the midfield a little bit, and here's a midfielder who's going to be playing as a right winger. He's nailed on. He's going to be on some set pieces as well, so hopefully he's going to be able to complement Messi when you're playing against Saudi Arabia. It's going to be a really nice fixture for you. And finally, Lautaro Martinez. So Lautaro Martinez, I'm going to put in a great option. I think he's a really good option as well. He's kind of scoring reasonably consistently for Argentina. I don't think he's a replacement for Messi, but I feel like he is a player that can come in and again supplement your Messi against Saudi Arabia. We're expecting Argentina to go big in this game, so let's see what they can do. Now, speaking of South American teams, let's add in some Brazilians. So Vinicius Jr. is the first player I'm going to put in, and I'm kind of split between putting him in meh and putting him in optional. Now, first of all, I don't think that you should be going for Vinicius over Neymar. Neymar is the star of this Brazil team. He's guaranteed more minutes. He's going to be on all set pieces. Vinicius, on the other hand, maybe, you know, substituted off earlier on in the games. Maybe it's 60 minutes, 70 minutes. And he's not even 100% guaranteed to start every single game. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts 2 out of 3 of the group stage games, for example. Plus, the first opening game against Serbia is not the ideal opening fixture for Brazil. They've got a kind of a tough group in a way. Like a little bit tough, I think. So Vinicius Jr. does not fill me with joy. He's quite expensive. Those forwards positions, you know, we've got so many that we want at the moment, and there's so many expensive players that we want. I don't think there's actually room to have Vinicius in your team, so I'm going to put him in meh. Let's add in Richarlison, who is also a bit of a meh because he is so risky. Now, if Richarlison starts for Brazil, 7.5 million for Brazil's forward or starting central striker is just going to be absolutely insane. But am I convinced that he's going to start every game? I'm genuinely not sure. I think Jesus is going to come and get some game time as well. I think maybe because of his low price at 7.5 million, we maybe move him up to optional, but you have to understand, if you're getting Richarlison, that is a big risk that you're taking there. And I'm going to put Thiago Silva finally in a void. I know we spoke a little bit about Marquinhos last video. Now, Marquinhos is actually 0.5 cheaper than Thiago Silva, so I don't see why anyone would go for Thiago Silva. I think Marquinhos probably has a little bit more attacking threat, a little bit more likely to get goals and assists as well, so it doesn't seem to be any point in going for Thiago Silva, and I don't think you should be really doubling up on the Brazil defense either. So there's really just no place for Thiago Silva, unfortunately. Let's keep the trend going with some more South American players. Let's do this. Let's just do the South American players first, and then we'll move to some others, I guess. Let's do the Uruguay team. So first, de Arrascaeta, I think is optional. Before, I would have probably put him in maybe a great option, but I'm a little bit worried about his game time. His form for Uruguay is absolutely fantastic, but in more recent friendlies, he has just not been playing quite as much as we'd like him to. But certainly in the qualifiers, he was on absolute flames and scoring goals, getting assists, being creative, and he was really, really looking good, especially for 5.5 million. But I'm not 100% convinced about this Uruguay This Uruguay winger, whether attacking midfielder, I guess, whether he's going to get the game time we want or not. Maybe he's a little bit too risky, but I still do like him. If he plays, I'm going to like him a lot. And finally, Araujo, we're going to put him in a void because unfortunately, even though he is definitely the best 3.5 million defender in the game, he is unfortunately going to be injured for the start of the World Cup. They're kind of hoping that he's going to be available for the knockout stages if Uruguay were to make it to the knockout stages. But even that there's no guarantee that Araujo is going to be available. So there's no point whatsoever in having him for your group stage team. Don't get him. Just flat out avoid him. You know, it looks too good to be true. It is too good to be true, unfortunately. Right, let's go around the world, guys. We've got some other nations to do. Now, we didn't do any Spanish players last video, so we're going to start off with some Spanish players, I think. So let's stick in Sarabia first of all, who I actually really like. I'm going to put him in great option. 7.5 million midfielder, which is a really decent price, to be fair, isn't it? So we do like that cheap price, and his form for Spain is amazing. He does so well for Spain. I know people will probably doubt him for his club level performances, but we're talking about international footballer, and he is probably one of Spain's better attackers, really, in their entire team. He plays every game. He gets lots of goals. He gets lots of assists. We saw how well he did in the Euros when he came into that Spain team. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident about this one. I think he's going to be playing in an advanced position as well, despite the fact he's listed as a midfielder. All in all, I think he's a very, very good pick for a good price there as well. And let's put in Morata as well, who I think is maybe slightly more risky than Sarabia. I have spoken before about how I do like Morata, and I do still like Morata, but I am getting increasingly concerned about his game time, whether he's going to start or not, just because of his potential injury that he's carrying coming into this tournament. I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be ready for match day 1, and if he's not, I don't know, it seems a little bit risky just because of that injury. But if he was to start, then I think that would be very good because he's very much a player who takes a lot of shots on. He's going to pick up points naturally for taking a lot of shots on target, as you get points for shots on target in this fantasy game, which is very good. So, yeah, let's put him in optional, but that's really only if he's available. If we find out any more information about him being unfit, we're going to have to probably bump them down a level. Let's go across the Iberian Peninsula to Portugal. We've got Bruno Fernandes first of all, and I actually kind of like Bruno Fernandes as an option. I think he is an option. The one thing that concerns me a little bit is his price. That is quite expensive, but he is that heartbeat of the Portugal team, and if Ronaldo is not 100% on his game, Fernandes could also be on some set pieces there as well, which is pretty nice. He's going to be on a lot of set pieces naturally anyway, but he could take penalties perhaps. We kind of saw that in the friendly that Portugal played just yesterday. So, overall, I think he is an interesting pick. He's definitely an interesting pick. I'm not sure he quite justifies his price tag, but I think he's going to be the heartbeat of the team. He's going to be creating. He's going to be creating, key passes. So he's going to pick up points that way as well. I think it's a really interesting shout. If some of you guys were to go for him, I think that's pretty interesting. I kind of like it. Bernardo Silva, on the other hand, I'm not so keen on. I'm actually going to put him down in the meh category. I'm not really convinced by this one. I'm not quite prepared to put him in a void because I know he is going to be creating chances for his teammates. But typically, Bernardo is not as involved in the goals for Portugal as players like Fernandes and Ronaldo. They're kind of the main two, really. And Bernardo, similar price to Fernandes, but doesn't offer nearly as much as him. So I think if you're going to go for that Portugal midfielder, then you either go for Fernandes or you forget about it completely. I don't think Bernardo Silva is worth that 9 million, sadly. Christian Eriksen, I think, is a good option. However, I think I'm going to put him in high tier optional because he's only 8 million, and we're looking at ticking heartbeats of teams. That is what Eriksen is for Denmark. So maybe using the term ticking heartbeat is not the right phrase for Eriksen, but we move on. Eriksen is going to be creating a lot of chances. He's going to be having shots, taking shots on. He's going to be creating for his teammates. He's going to be having all of the assists. He's going to have all of the set pieces in the whole team, free kicks, penalties, corners, everything. So he's going to pick up points very, very organically, very naturally. And I think he's going to be a good way of getting points. Bit of a differential. And I think Denmark are one of the most underrated teams in this tournament. I think they'll do very well. So yeah, a lot of confidence in Eriksen, actually. I think he's a really good pick, and I don't think too many people will go for him either. Scout Olsen, I think we're going to put him straight into the great option category. I'm going to put him up there. Not necessarily because he's going to get more points than Eriksen or Fernandes or whoever else we're talking about in terms of midfielders. But the difference with Scout Olsen is that he is so cheap. In fact, I do believe he is the best FPL fantasy option at 6 million or below. I think he's the best in his price bracket. So that's why I'm putting him so high. He plays on the right wing for Denmark. He scores a decent amount of goals for them. He's just very good for Denmark. He scores goals. He creates a little bit as well. He's listed as a midfielder, even though he's going to be playing fairly advanced, which is all very, very nice, good things that we like to hear. So overall, I think it's a very good pick. Let's move on to some. Let's add some Germany to the mix. We'll put Gundogan in next. I'm going to put him in meh again. I think the problem is with Gundogan is the only thing he really offers is penalties. He's going to make the occasional tackle. He's going to create the occasional chance for his teammates, really. But he has been playing quite deep for Germany, which is not really what we like to see. And if he is playing quite deep in that midfield, I don't think he's going to, be worth the value of 7.5 million. I do understand he might get key passes points and he might get tackle points as well, but you can get these kind of players who are, ticking along with those kind of points for a lot less money than 7.5 million. So it doesn't really seem to be worth it to me. Let's now add in some Netherlands players and then we'll do France after that, I think. So first of all, Cody Gakpo, I like him. I actually really like him as an option. The annoying thing is he's listed as a forward, because if he was listed as a midfielder, I think he would be going straight into my team, but he's not. He's listed as a forward at 7 million as well. It's really difficult to place him really, because of his position. It's such, there's so many other forwards that we like a lot, but he is doing very well for Netherlands at the moment. He is starting every game. He's playing in a central attacking midfield. He's playing the Wijnaldum role, and we know how well Wijnaldum did for the Netherlands in previous tournaments. So this is Gakpo. He is like the #1 player in the Netherlands right now, in the Eredivisie, I mean. So I think he's going to be a star of this World Cup. I really do, but Can you sacrifice one of your forward positions for him? I'm not sure. That's going to be up to you. Griezmann, I think, is an interesting pick. I'm going to put him in optional as well. I'm going to set on the fence on this one. I'm going to put him kind of in the middle of optional, I guess. A really nice opening fixture against Australia for Griezmann, and we know that Nkunku is not going to be playing in the attacking midfield role because he's injured, so Griezmann is probably going to play behind the two strikers, but that assumes that Benzema is available, which he might not be now, we've kind of found out. So maybe Griezmann plays as a striker, as a forward. We know he takes a lot of set pieces, free kicks and corners, which is very nice, and potential to take penalties, but it's more likely Mbappe going to be on penalties, but there's a potential. And Griezmann for France is just very, very good. So I think he's a decent option and an interesting differential. Definitely optional for sure. Theo Hernandez, I'm going to put in. I'm almost ready to put him in a void, but I think I'm too scared of what you guys are going to say if I put him in a void. So I'm going to put him in meh, but I'm going to put him low tier meh. And the reason is I'm not convinced he's going to start. The left back situation is really up in the air for France. They seem to be rotating a lot in that left back position. I can't tell you from all of the research I've done on this player, because I was thinking about my team today and whether I should go for someone like Theo Hernandez, because 5 million for a France defender is really good value for money, especially if he's playing as a fullback. So I thought, let's have a look into this. I can't come up with a solution as to who's the starting left back for France. I don't think anyone can. I'm sure a lot of you guys will have your opinions on that one, but to me, it's just up in the air. We can't know for sure. So for that reason, too risky. I don't think I would go for him. Depay is a straight up avoid as well, just because he is probably going to be injured, like 90% going to be injured for this opening game. The Netherlands are hoping that Depay can come back for the second game. If that happens and when that happens, Depay instantly shoots up to a great option, maybe even a must-have. Like, he'll be one of the first players I buy if I know he's available for match day 2. But right now, it seems really unlikely he's going to be available for match day 1. So I'm suggesting to you guys that you just avoid Depay for this first game. But Depay for the Netherlands, man, what a player. What a crazy player. On all set pieces. Oh, I love him. Anyway, let's go for some interesting different players. So I've got Davies up next. I'm going to put him in. meh. I mean, I'm almost ready to put him in a void, to be honest. The problem is, I know he is going to be on some set piece. I know he's going to be very attacking. I know he's going to be playing in midfield, despite the fact he's listed as a defender. But he can't pick up points for taking shots. He can't pick up points for making tackles. He can't pick up points for creating chances for his teammates. He can only create points for scoring goals. So he has to score goals. Otherwise, he is going to arguably be on negative points, because the rules of this game, the more goals you concede, the more points you lose, and it goes crazy. If Canada lose 4-0, for example, then that's Davies on -2 points if he doesn't score a goal. That's just crazy. Like, that is absolutely insane. So we don't want that. You will be so dependent on Canada scoring, and Davies specifically scoring, and Canada will concede goals in this tournament, that it's not going to be worth your while. So you know what, I'm sorry, Canadians, I'm so sorry, I'm going to have to bump him down even lower. I'm going to have to bump him down into a void, because I think that is a potential player who can really do some damage to your team if you're left stuck with him in your fantasy team. I think he could actually really do some damage to your score. Let's go for the Williams next, who I don't mind, but sort of doesn't, it's a good group for Wales. I'm going to put him, I guess, in optional, but he could just as easily be in meh, because it's not a very exciting pick, I don't think. Yes, he's going to be playing as a wing-back for Wales, and if I was to go for one Welsh player, probably would be Nico Williams, to be fair. Maybe he creates something, maybe he gets some returns, but in general, the defenders are just very much meh in general. I feel like there's other 4 million defenders or 4.5 million defenders that probably are going to get you around the same points as Williams, so maybe it's just worth saving the money going for a 4 million player instead if you can upgrade elsewhere. It just doesn't excite me very much. He's okay, like, if you want him, go for him. And let's finish off with a couple of goalkeepers, because we haven't got any goalkeepers, or we haven't got many goalkeepers. I've only got Damian Martinez, as we're calling him now. So let's put for a couple of goalkeepers that I think are really interesting picks. First of all, Dominguez, who I've spoken about at length before. I think he is a decent option indeed. In fact, I'm going to arguably put him in a great option, because Ecuador are so good at keeping clean sheets. They are just like an absolute defensive unit. They focus all their energy on defense and not really very much on attack. And they've got a reasonably good group, you'd say. An opening fixture against Qatar, who are going to be one of the weaker teams in the tournament. So I know Ecuador are also a weaker team, but they are just defensively, they're just frustrating to play against. So I think they'll do okay. And let's finish off with Al Sheeb, who I think, again, for the same reasons as I just described, is quite a good option. I'm going to put him in optional. He's a 4 million goalkeeper. You can't really go wrong. He's the starting goalkeeper for Qatar. And like I said, Ecuador is the opposition. Ecuador can't really score goals. So that game could very easily be a 0-0. And if it is, why not go for a Qatari goalkeeper who's very, very cheap? They're going to be in front of home crowds. Hopefully, that's going to give them the impetus to thrive in that opening fixture. Big game for them. Biggest game that Qatar will probably ever play is this opening fixture, right? So therefore, I think it's a genuine option, and you can always have another goalkeeper on your bench to switch with if things don't go right. But yeah, Al Sheeb, I don't mind him. I think he's actually not a bad shout at all. So yeah, potential there to go for him. And one more thing, if you're not convinced Al Sheeb is going to start for Qatar, because there is another goalkeeper, Barsham, I think his name is. If he starts, then the deadline is, at kickoff, so you will already know if Al Sheeb is going to start. So you can just make a switch. You can switch him to the other Qatar goalkeeper, but it's going to be Al Sheeb. There we go. That's the tier list done. I hope that I've got most players in the right place. I know I've sat on the fence with a lot of these players and put a lot in optional, but I think there are some gems here, and I think there is some opportunity to go for some of these differentials and try and spice up your team just that little bit. Alright, that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. I would massively appreciate that. I'm going to try and do one more video whilst I am here in a different area of the country on a little break. But aside from that, do go check out all of my other content. I've got loads on the channel all about World Cup Fantasy if you want some tips to help you guys out with your team. But we'll leave it there. So thank you so much for watching, guys, once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.